Greetings, this is attorney author Herman Franck, and welcome to another episode of Wife University. Today I want to talk about a subject I don't like. I often will start one of these by saying a subject dear to my heart. This is one not dear to my heart, one that I don't like at all, but which I feel I ought to comment on because unfortunately I see this quite a bit. It's called rudeness. And let me first begin by spelling the word R-U-D-E-N-E-S-S. It comes from the short version of the word rude, and it means impolite. And there's a million ways to be rude. Impolite, negative, it's easy to do. So, to make a long story short, what I want to talk to you about is just don't do it. There's just no reason to be rude. The last thing this planet needs is a rude person, a person who is impolite. And I want to tell you, I have met so many women at the Chinese Love Link, which I call CLL website, who are amazingly rude. And I'm wondering, what is your story? And, they'll be, in their mid-30s, let's say, single for over 10 years, and they're just not very nice. And right away, and I mean like within a couple emails, will come out with some kind of negative, angry, bitter statement, which, for a man, is a total turnoff. And, one of the ideas I have is maybe you're just trying to get rid of me. And I realize I am not for everyone, and it never amazes me at all when I learn a girl does not want me. So I should begin by saying, if you meet a man, and let's say on a dating website, and for whatever reason you don't like him, which is fine, you always have the right not to like somebody, and for whatever reason you want to get rid of him, just be rude and you will get rid of him. I might add, most women, if they don't like a guy, they just don't respond at all. So you don't need to be rude. You could how about just don't respond to his email at all? And we men, we're not going to be shocked like, oh my God, I can't believe I sent an email to a woman and she didn't send me one back. We're never shocked about that at all, okay? And, for those of you women out there that get upset that men chase multiple women at once, let me assure you that rude women are one of the reasons we do that. And we just don't trust these women to be the one. And so while we are receiving your negative statements about whatever it is you're saying negative things about, you can be well assured at the same time we are receiving sweet emails back from some other woman who's actually kind and gentle. And when we look at the two emails, one saying, wow, you're really cool, I like you, and the other one saying something like, you're fat, you're old, or whatever, you got to know, of course, which one we're going to go with will always be the nice, sweet, gentle one. One thing I would like to share with you is when a woman is rude to me, I call her on it. And that's a kind of a U.S. colloquialism when we say, I call you on it, which means I let you know. I don't let it go by. I'll let the girl know, hey, that was a rude comment. And I don't know why you're doing that, because you don't know me very well. It's one thing if you're married to a man, you've been with him a long time, and there's always issues, in any kind of long-term relationship where people get angry and rude. Okay, that part I'm not going to moan and groan about. I know I can be like that. I know that many wives are like that. But I'm talking about in the dating world, before you've established that kind of relationship. I should probably describe it upfront rudeness. And I mean rudeness like right from the start. And I wonder, this one girl in particular I know, very pretty girl. She's 32. She's a belly dance instructor, and quite lovely in every way. She is just not nice, and I don't know. I was thinking maybe it's just not nice to me, but I have a feeling she's like this to all kinds of guys. And she just. I remember when I asked her. Her initial comments to me just right away were rude. And I won't get into what she said, but it's just negative, insulting statements, like immediately. And I remember I asked her, how come you're being negative and insulting to me? You don't even know me. And her comment was, I have to protect myself. And I was kind of wondering, like, well, what is that? What are you protecting yourself from? And how is being rude actually protecting you? So the first thing I would like to help women on is a self-appraisal of your own rudeness. And I'd like you to think about it and ask yourself the following question. Am I rude? Am I impolite? Do I say negative things? Do I say mean things? Do I put men down? And you can be honest with yourself. Now, maybe you got a guy like me who'll just flat out tell you, hey, that was rude. And I will, if you send me anything rude, I'll let you know, hey, that was rude. And I don't say it from the standpoint of take it back or you shouldn't have said that. For me, it's more of an accounting issue. I just want you to have a data point that you made a rude statement. Whether you want to change it or undo it or give me 5 more is up to you. I don't really care. I mean, I'm not going to be with you. I can guarantee you that, because I'm never going to be with a rude girl. I'm just not going to do it. And I can tell you right away, the minute a girl is rude with me, it's like, bye-bye. And, I emphasize that because most men are like this. We don't want a rude girl. I mean, who does? And I might add, a woman, of course, would never put up with that. If some guy made some remark to you right away, like, your hair doesn't look good, you're not very well educated, you only went to a vocational school, I'm surprised that you didn't go on and get some higher education. Your face is not so good anymore, your body is not so good anymore, your child doesn't look so good anymore. If we made any kind of remark like that, which, by the way, in a million years I never would, but I want you to know women have made statements to me like that. And, I'm kind of thinking, wow, why would you do that? I remember I had a girl, the ultimate thing that should be a no-go zone. I mean, it's one thing if you want to be rude to me, but I remember this one girl saw photos of my children and said that they were not good-looking kids. And I'm just like, wow. And first of all, my kids are astonishingly good-looking, number one. But my issue was more, I just would never want to be with a woman who's saying that kind of stuff. It's just like, I don't know what your problem is, lady, but you ought to just back off right now. Those of you who are not rude and who don't do that kind of thing, I want to first say thank you for being that way, and that is the right way. I want to say to all women and men, especially in East-West relationships, and my program, as I've said elsewhere, this is all geared toward Asian USA situations. I'd like to think it applies to other non-East-West relationships, but my orientation is to East-West marriage. That's why I wrote the book called East-West Marriage. And that's why my other book, Good Mom, Bad Wife, is about a Chinese-American situation. So what I want to first remind everybody about is the special behavioral issue that you have when you are from a different country than the man. And for you men, when you are from a different country than the woman. So let's take an example. The woman is from China, the man is from USA. Well, the first thing I would like you to know is that you are a representative of your country. Please don't forget that. So when we think about China, we're going to think about you. And if you're some kind of little bitch, we're going to think very poorly of China. And China, which is a great country, a wonderful country, does not deserve to have its reputation tarnished because of some little bitch. So the first thing I want to tell you is just be aware you represent your country. The other thing I want to, and for men it's the same thing. If you're like a bad guy, you will reflect poorly on the United States, and we will get comments like I have received. USA men are just playing games, and they really aren't serious, and they're just playboys and comments like that. I have a feeling most of USA men are not rude. The issue that they have that is interpreted as being rude is simply that they don't come over there and marry the girl. And fundamentally, the program I have here is to try to show women how to make that happen. And let me guarantee you that rudeness will never get you a man. It just will not work. A girl told me, I have so many men chasing me, I don't need to be nice. How about that for a remark? And I thought, well, great. So be rude and do what? Maybe rudeness is a way to get rid of guys. And if that is your purpose, let me guarantee you, you will succeed. If you want to get rid of a man, just be rude to him. Insult him like 11 times, 12 times. Insult his physical body. Insult his education. Insult his character, his nature. And, he will go away. You will win that. But if you want a guy, then obviously you shouldn't be doing that. If you're doing that, you're just doing the wrong thing. The other thing I would point out to you is never forget that we are all here on planet Earth together, and a man you don't want to marry can still be a good man to know. You never know how he might help you. And I would tell you that even if you see a man and for whatever reason you say, no, that's not the guy for me, that's a perfectly good decision. There's nothing evil or bad in that. And you can tell the guy that. Believe me, we are not going to be shocked. You could say something like, you know what, you seem like a really nice guy, but I want you to know you're not the one for me. And a guy may very well write back, well, thank you for your honesty. I appreciate that. Can we still be friends? Now, you may say, you know what, I don't want to waste my time. I'm here to find a husband, and I don't want to waste time with some guy I don't want to marry. Perfectly legitimate. I want to suggest to you, though, that having friends is a good thing. And just because you have found a person that you don't want to marry doesn't mean you should be rude to him. Maybe he could be a good friend. Now, if you don't want friends, I want to suggest to you, please rethink that. I hate the idea of me making advices or suggestions that, I don't want to have a friend, I don't want to waste my time. I want to have you check that out. Maybe you should. I can tell you right now, I am friends with many women that absolutely do not want to marry me. And that's okay. I don't mind that. And they are not rude to me. They are nice to me. And I am, of course, nice to them. And we both know that we're not going to be lovers or husband and wife, but we're still friends. And when they're down and sad, something bad happened, and they need someone to talk to, you know what? I'm there for them. Now you may think, well, I don't need that. I don't want that. I have no reason for that. Fine. But even still, you don't need to be rude to a guy. You can just tell him, you're not the one for me. You know, I said earlier, you are a representative of your country, and you really are. So please keep that in mind in your behavior. And that goes for both men and women. Men should be aware that you represent the United States of America when you talk to a woman in China. And you don't want to be a jerk. And you don't want to be, be a good guy. And represent our country, my country, in a good way. That is a request I have. And for women in China or elsewhere in Asia, please represent your own country in a good way. Also, let me tell you something that's related to that. You are a reflection of your ancestors, your grandparents, your parents, also your other relatives, your aunt and uncle, other people in your family. Don't forget that. And if you are rude, I have to wonder, what did your parents do as far as bringing you up to cause you to be rude? Did your mom not ever tell you, be nice to men? Did your father not ever tell you, be nice to men? Did they not ever tell you that there's no place for rudeness? Now, I will put responsibility for your own misbehavior on you and not your parents. I don't blame your parents, I blame you. But at the same time, I think your parents probably didn't teach you about that. And it's part of my goal in Wife University, to clue women in and to be nice and don't be rude. And the other thing, and this is something I have in my Good Mom, Bad Wife book, there are going to be times when you're rude and you say things that you probably shouldn't have said. I can't tell you how many times I've had a woman tell me, I didn't mean to say that. Like, or not that I didn't mean to say it, I didn't mean that. So you might say something like, I think you're overweight. Now, the reason I'm choosing the overweight example, I am overweight, so I have a weight issue. And by the way, I'm working on it, but I go to the gym all the time, and darn it, I'm still overweight. And I am amazed at how some women are not shy to say that. You're fat. Women don't just come out and say that. Now, just so you know, we men are taught. You never say that to a woman. In a billion years, we would never tell a fat girl you're fat. It's rude. It's not proper behavior. So you don't say that. Now, if you don't want a fat guy and you meet a fat guy like me, I don't want to say I'm fat. I'm overweight. I got a big stomach. Sorry about that. So, if you don't want a guy with a big stomach, no problem. That is perfectly acceptable. But you don't insult him. You just say, no thank you, you're not the guy for me. Or you could say nothing at all. You don't even have to respond to him. There could be many things about a guy you don't like. You may want a well-educated guy, and a guy could come to you and not have that. Well, you don't tell him you're stupid. You don't have any education, I don't want you. Don't tell him that. Just tell him, no thank you. I guess the more interesting one is where a guy has something about him that you don't like, and all of us do because none of us are perfect. But you want the man. I mean, if you don't want the guy, then it's kind of easy. Just, be rude, he'll go away, end of story. But let's take the more interesting example of a guy you do want, but he has aspects to him that you don't like. Let's say he's too old. I'll use examples about me. He's too old, he's overweight, and he has too much baggage. Now, baggage is another slang Baggage is the opposite of free and clear. A free and clear guy is single man living alone in a home that's empty, ready to be filled by you, and he's ready to fly to China, marry you, bring you to his home, and have you move in. That's called free and clear. And there's no ex-wife, there's no ex-girlfriend, there's no children. Maybe he has a dog, and that's it, or 2 dogs. So baggage is the guy that's got ex-girlfriends or ex-wives or current girlfriends, current wives. I was chatting just today with a gal who's met a new good guy that she likes, but he's currently living with a woman that he's currently in the process of dumping, and it's not so easy to get rid of a girlfriend out here. I got news for you, or a wife. So you got to bear with us on this. And a lot of women are kind of like, I don't want to talk to you until you're free and clear. Now, to me, that is a perfectly reasonable position to have. Call me when you're divorced, your wife is gone, and you're ready to come forward. I don't have any complaint about that. But that's also a point where you could be rude to a guy, because it's like, gee whiz, look, you got kids, you got dogs, you got an ex-wife, you got all this stuff. Why the hell should I want to be with you? Well, let's suppose you do want to be with that guy. Let's suppose you find a guy who is overweight, he has baggage in the form of a nasty-ass ex-wife and children that need a lot of stuff and a lot of attention. And all the things they need and all the attention they need are going to be attentions and monies that he can't give you. So you're going to want to have him do things like, hey, why don't you come out and see me? Oh, I can't. I got to drive my kids to school every day. I've got to, and I'm sorry I can't afford to fly you out here because I need to pay for my children's schooling and do all the things for them. And I could see you easily saying, well, look, I don't need a guy with baggage. That's fine, but don't be rude about it. Don't start telling him his kids look bad or something, What I want you to note, though, is a lot of times the men with these various problems or issues that you don't like are often guys that maybe are the right guys for you, because this is like a man with baggage, for example. That means he is a father. You want someone who's going to be a good dad. Well, guess what? He is a good dad. He's not a man who says he will be a good dad. He is a man who is a good dad. And he's been a husband. So you could say, well, I want a man who's going to be a good husband. But then you might say, I want a man who's never been a husband before. Well, that's fine if you're 22, 23. But women, girls, let's get real here. If you're over 30, you're looking at a guy who's probably going to be over 40, and as I believe I've said elsewhere, generally speaking, any man over 40 will have been married before. And if he hasn't been married before, that may be a bigger issue than him being married. So you want to be kind of careful about the things that you think are negative may in fact be positive. You know what I don't like about this guy? He's so busy with his kids, taking care of all of their needs, feeding them, clothing them, taking them to school, bringing them to their non-school events, spending time with them. Well, wait a minute. Isn't that a good thing that he's like that? Isn't that a good thing? You want a responsible family man. I mean, what if you heard, I've got 3 kids, but don't worry, they're with my ex-wife, and I don't ever see them, I don't ever talk to them, I don't do anything with them, and don't worry about money because I never pay child support, and I just leave them high and dry, which means all of my attention and money can be focused on you. Isn't that great? Well, God, if I were a girl and I heard that, I would run for the hills. I would say, you're a bad guy. Well, other things that can cause you to be rude could be like, you're too old for me. And again, I'm kind of selecting areas of rudeness that I'm aware of, because these are things that have happened to me. And I have said many times to women, you are 100% right. I say it like this, rather than a negative thing. First of all, let me back up. Every single statement can be made in a negative way and a positive way. And you can make the same remark in a positive way. So let me give you an example. You could say to a man, don't you think you're too old for me? Or you can just come right out and say it. You are too old for me. I don't want such an old guy. Okay, that's a rude remark, by the way. But go ahead and say it. Or here's a positive way of saying the same thing. Don't you think I'm too young and beautiful for you? Now, you may think that sounds obnoxious, but trust me, I would much rather have an overly self-confident, narcissistic remark from a girl than a negative remark from a girl. I'd much rather have that. So I would say go ahead and say it like that. And the guy will probably say, of course you're too young and beautiful for me. Please forgive me for trying. So what you can look at it that way. What I want to tell you is this. However you might want to say something, say it in a good way. Try to say it in a good way. Let me give you another example. This girl that I barely know, she tells me, you've been on this website for a long time. Do the girls not want you because of your age or your bad character? That was her question to me. And my answer, and by the way, I'm fully willing to answer all questions, even questions put to me in a kind of rude way. Look at what she does right away. And this is a girl, by the way, who's been single a long time. She is a averagely pretty girl. I mean, she's not ugly, but she's not gorgeous. And I guarantee you she's going to be single for a long time. And most of these women who are rude have been long-term single and will continue to be long-term single. And that's one of the reasons I'm talking about this, is that you can choose to change that, or you can just, not change it and be rude and be single for a long, long time. So I asked her, first of all, why are you asking me a question in such a negative way? Why would you ask me like that? Because you could just ask, how has your luck been on this website? That's another way of asking it in kind of a positive way. Now, she made a couple of assumptions in her question. Number one, that women don't want me. And I mean, I can tell you right now, at that website, I've lost count, but I want to say somewhere around 60 or 70 marriage proposals, and it just keeps going up. I get them all the time. Will you marry me? So her assumption that, a woman doesn't want me or nobody wants me is just wrong. And, often when you assume something, you're going to get it wrong because you don't know what you're talking about. Now, the other thing is that they wouldn't want me for my character. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, I guess I'm a lawyer, a professional. I have a Doctor of Law degree, a Master of Arts degree. I have 3 children. I have a 14-year marriage that failed. So what about that are you going to just quickly summarize is bad character? That a marriage failed? Well, look around. There are many people with a failed marriage. I'm not the only one. So I wouldn't equate a failed marriage with a bad character. Also, something I would point out is I don't agree that if you have a long marriage, 14 years, and you have 3 kids, that's a failed marriage. I look at that as a successful marriage that did not last forever. And as you'll see in my Good Mom, Bad Wife book, as I'm I'm taping that book right now while I do these other sessions. But there are chapters where I talk about the concept that marriages really aren't meant to be forever. And I hate to shatter your image of that, but I want to tell you, wake up, look around. Even people who are still together and married, a lot of them probably shouldn't be. They're very rude all the time to each other, fighting, not getting along at all. And these are people who have in their nature and character the ability to be nice. They just need to be with a different person. So I would tell you right away that a marriage that lasts not forever can still not be a failure. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'll get more into that in later sessions. That's not really the subject of what I'm talking about today. What I want to tell you today is when you ask a question of a man, you don't need to do it in a way that's kind of like challenging, like, oh, you don't have a girlfriend, so you must be a bad guy. I mean, if that were true, how about you? You don't have a boyfriend, so you must be a bad girl, right? I mean, it just, you could just turn that right around on yourself. Also, a guy that doesn't have a girlfriend, think about it. Isn't that what you're looking for? I mean, you don't want a guy that has a girlfriend. Then you got to somehow get rid of the girlfriend. That's the baggage problem that I talked about earlier. So I don't know why a girl would be angry or negative about the fact that a guy's single. You're single, you must be a bad guy. Well, why would you say that? I mean, he's single, that means there's an opportunity for you to connect with him. Be happy. My goodness. I would like women and men who hurl out these negative comments to do a self-appraisal of themselves and ask, why do you do that? I want you to know a lot of psychologists have given opinions about this, that people who lack self-confidence and are insecure in their own person will be the ones who hurl out insults. So for example, a woman who has been single for a long time, who has a lot of self-doubts about whether or not they're really attracted to the opposite sex, those are the very people who are rude. And it's kind of ironic because they're probably the ones who most need to be nice. The women who are actually fairly well together and are, hot, well-educated, good careers, they tend to be the ones that don't insult. So I would like you to know that some of your insulting, rude behavior could very well be because of your own situation and your own insecurities. You kind of lash them out in the form of negative statements to others. And, I have real simple advice. Please don't do that. Men are sensitive to it. We don't like to hear that kind of stuff. And many of us, including myself, the second we hear it, will say, bye, you will not hear from us again. And, it's different if you've been our wives for 10 years. Even then, we'll divorce you after a while. Be nice, and here's the good news. When you are nice, you're going to get nice right back. I'm sure you all know this. When you are rude, you'll get rude right back. People are like that. If you're nice to me, I'm going to be nice to you. It doesn't get any simpler than that. And if you're mean to me, I'm going to be mean to you. Every action gets the same reaction, is the simple concept. So everybody, don't be rude, be nice. I hope you'll praise yourself on this, and consider this, and you'll find ways to follow that. Thank you for listening. This is attorney-author Herman Franck with another episode of Wife University. Please stay tuned for more.